Yo, 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 welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, conversations on lifestyle, passions, and hustles. My name's Chris Furlong. I am your host, and I'm super excited to be back here having the conversation with you. Episode 95 today, and we are talking about the importance of purpose. And this is coming straight off the bat, back to back from last week's episode of how you can have your best year yet by following, a success formula, different ways of how we can progress and actually make progress in a year when it comes to goals and setting goals and things like that. So if you haven't listened to that episode really does set this one up even better, but you can listen to this standalone. So if you haven't listened to that one, you might want to listen to it first. Otherwise, jump into this if you want to learn all about the importance of purpose or a purpose-driven force. Goals, they're the biggest conversation at the start of any new year. They're a bit of a cliche. They can be a little bit overhyped or something which, you come 2-3 weeks and people aren't really talking about it anymore, and you've kind of brushed out and understand who's actually going to be making progress this year and who are the people that were just saying things because they wanted to be part of a trend. But for me, goals are important, right? And I've touched on this last week and I went through the success formula, as I just said before. But at the end of that episode, I spoke about there is a huge point, and I drove the point home around that you can set goals, you can have ambitions, you can have all this stuff that you want to do to progress or make progress, but it's all pointless in sorts if you do not include purpose with it. I know this too many times. I've set ambitions or I've set ambitious goals and I forgot to zoom out and identify, well, what happens next for once I've hit that goal? What's actually my end game, or where am I actually moving towards, right? Whether it's over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And the first time I actually realized this, we're diving straight into this, so buckle up. The first time I actually realized this was when I was working the 9 to 5 in the corporate world. When I first became a manager, originally when I started that job as a grad, I kind of said, I'm going to give it 5 years. I want to be a manager by that time, and I want to see what I can do and how far I can, work up the corporate ladder. And I did it in 5 years, actually less than 5 years. I was a manager. And when I got that, after it, after all the excitement and got the bonus, the promotion, all that jazz, I was kind of stuck in a bit of a daze around, now what? I had lost purpose. I had lost purpose and understanding of what I was working for, because I had this big goal and this big intent, and I just figured out once I got there, things would just be all figured out. But I had to refine what my identity was in terms of what was I chasing. And that can be a little scary. And it recently happened again. I'll be honest. It recently happened again. Having been on a leave of absence for 2 years, and I finally resigned at the end of 2022, just in October, November there. And for the last 2 years, if you don't know my story, I basically took the chance on myself to make progress on some of my goals, dreams, ambitions, start this podcast, start my own business, and basically start to make things that I want to have in 5, 10, 15 years from now a reality, right? Start working on it rather than just chipping away at an hour on a weekend. And I did not want to have to go back to work for someone else. That was the really intent of that 2 years, is see whatever I can do, build momentum, take action, massive action, and actually make it so I don't have to go back. And I did that. I didn't have to go back. I quit, I resigned, and nothing wrong with that company. Really, really good way we left off and all that jazz. I was so grateful for that opportunity. And it was only like a couple of weeks ago when I was doing some planning for this year, I kind of sat down and I realized, hang on, if I want to make 2023 my best year yet, I kind of realized, what am I rooting against? What am I putting my core against? What is my driving force? What is my motivator? What is my purpose? And don't get me wrong, I've got long-term goals. I've got, some big ambitions and things and places where I want to be in the future. I'm talking, well, I would like to think they're going to take 5, 10 years. They shouldn't have to take that long, but that's where my mind's at. But in the present, I know that there's things and steps and realities of, I have to do the work to be able to get there. And I personally couldn't see what it was that I wanted to be working towards at this point in time, or what I'm working away from. Now, just to clarify on that, there's 2 ways that we're usually motivated. We're either motivated to get out of a situation or motivated to get into a position. And I'll read this out. It's called push and pull. Push motivation is driven by a need to run from unwanted reality, while a pull motivation is a power that inspires you to attain successful results. So having thought about the wins and losses for 2022, I've been going through that and reflecting and, actually seeing the progress that I've made or the lack of progress. And, there's been some wins and losses. I started to think about and reflect on, well, what is my purpose and what am I doing? And that's a big question. It's a big, scary question. And this is just as important for yourself. So we're going to get real here. What am I now working towards? And ask yourself this. What am I now working towards? And what is my next major milestone to lock on? So what will be my purpose driving force? Now, if you don't know what that means, a purpose driving force or a personal purpose driving force basically is something that helps you identify and pursue your values, goals, and aspirations. Essentially, it serves as a guiding principle or as a North Star for your actions and your decision making, and it can provide a sense of meaning or fulfillment. Having a clear understanding of what that purpose looks like or that purpose driving force can help you align your actions, your values, your priorities, and also, as I said before, it can give you some, inspiration. It can help you with being motivated, and it also helps you stay true to yourself when you're hit with obstacles, challenges, and setbacks. So establishing a personal purpose driving force, it's a lot, PPDF, personal purpose driving force, can involve identifying what is most important to you. And it may also involve activities such as self-reflection, goal setting, which, I've talked about a lot, especially in the last episode. But it should also be very, very authentic. It should be very meaningful, and it should be relevant to your own personal and professional goals. Now, what else it also means is you need to be identifying what is most important to you. It involves taking the time to reflect on those values. What are your values? What are your things that you value the most? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? How do they all tie in together? How do they stick together? And how do they overlap? Like a Venn diagram of sorts. And you have to take that all into mind, considering what is important and what is meaningful to you. This can then help you clarify and identify and lock in, zoom in, and focus on what truly matters to you. And with that, self-reflection is the process of thinking about your own thoughts, your feelings, how things make you feel, what behaviors pop up when things don't work out or when things do work out. What are the things that make you happy? What are the things that make you frustrated? This self-reflection, engaging this, can help you have a better understanding of yourself, but also your values and where you can provide insight into what motivates you and what drives you, which is your driving force. Now, you then have to start to set the goals based on all this. Now, I'm not trying to overwhelm you and talking about values, purpose, what is the meaning of life and all that. But if we strip it back, if we pull it back and really just think about, what do you want? What do you want? Right? And for me, I have always had big ambitions that I've wanted to work for myself. Now, that in itself is bold. But when you break that down, what does that actually look like? At the moment, I work for myself. Does that mean I've achieved my goal? Does that mean I've achieved where I want to be? Yes and no, because this is part of it. Now I realize, okay, what do I actually want? What's the next thing that starts to define what actually looks like success for me, or what actually looks like where I want to be before I then start to identify and look for whatever that next purpose is. And there's two elements to this. I want to share with you what my big life mission has always been, and it remains this. And then I'm going to share with you what my next core purpose or driving force is that I'm working towards. So my life mission has always been this, and I wrote this years ago. I want to inspire, I want to be innovative, I want to promote success through all that I do and to the people around me. I wish to spread happiness and express life through my actions. I plan to create opportunity through my visions, dreams, and inspire those around me to aspire further in their own lives. Now, I've spoken about this in a number of different episodes, how to find your North Star and things like that. And that's very relevant to this. That's not changing. That's exactly what I'm encompassing and wanting to do regardless of whatever I'm doing. And that's what I always turn back to. But for the short term, I need to think about, well, what's the next thing I'm looking at? Now, when I say short term, it might be 1 to 2 years of what am I actually working towards and getting myself in a position of. And this is what it is. To remove the need to work to earn, but rather earn based on the actions I do regardless. Right? And at the moment, if I help give you a bit of a detail of how I operate, there's 3 core things that I work on the most outside of running, relationships, and things like that. There's my business, my reselling business, making an income, my YouTube, and my podcast. Now, at the moment, my reselling takes up the most. And that also provides me the most income. The YouTube, it does bring me in some money, but I've been doing YouTube regardless whether it was making me money or not. The podcast, it doesn't make me any money. At the moment, it doesn't make me any money. Look, I've had a few dollary dues come in. I've had some people buy some different things, some enamel pins and some sweatshirts and things like that, which is I'm so grateful for. But it's not it does not generate a big income. Now, I'm doing that regardless because that's a passion project and that's an end goal. I want it to generate income. But I want you to know is that if I'm not earning money from this, I'm still doing it because I want to share with you my life experiences. I want to share with you, inspiration, insight to help you further your own lifestyle. We know this. That's why you're listening to it. And I'm not going anywhere with that. The same with the YouTube. It's another way that I can share and I enjoy doing that. But if I can turn my business, my YouTube and my podcast into the act of doing and I'm getting paid regardless, rather than having to trade hours for money, that's when I know I've hit where I want to be in the next 1 to 2 years. Because at the moment, I'm doing this and this does not feel like work. This does not feel like a chore. Reselling, look, there's components of it that feels like work, feels like a chore. And, it means I have to actually, all right, let's go do this. Whereas there's elements of it where it's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm happy to do this. And that's great. But I wanted to be able to continue to just do, live, express, share, and still make money regardless. So that's big and bold, but that's the reality of it. So I want to ask you the question, what about you? What's your thing that you're rooting against, meaning putting your purpose against, that's keeping you honest, that is your glue, that's keeping you honest in driving you forwards? What is your purpose over the next 1 year, 2 years, short term, long term? I would love to know. What is your purpose driving force? And you can reach out to me if you're listening to this on the YouTube. You can drop a comment down in the comments, or you can send me a message via Instagram at Further Your Lifestyle, or hit me up on Twitter at Further Your Life. Now, also, if you've made it this far, I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much. But if you have not subscribed or if you're not following the podcast, please do that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube. You can do that. And there's even the opportunity to rate and review. So if you could leave a review, leave a comment or anything like that, it absolutely means the world to me. And I hope you're having a wonderful year so far. Hope you're doing well. And if you've got any questions, we're more than happy to continue the conversation. And you have a wonderful day.